So we start off with Merlina Lim, who is the Canada Research Chair in Digital Media and Global Network Society, Associate Professor of Communication and Media Studies, and Founder Director of the Align Media Lab at Carleton University. Born and raised in Dayakolot, Indonesia, Lim's research examines the interplay between digital technologies and society, focusing on the internet, social media, and artificial intelligence. Her work explores how these technologies and societal dynamics dialectically co-shape each other in areas such as citizen participation, activism, and democratic processes. Not that we don't have elections to worry about, right? Grounded in Southeast Asia and the MENA region, Lim advocates for viewing the global south as a key research hub and addressing real-world issues on its own terms. Notable publications include, and these are the titles, Social Media and Politics in Southeast Asia, published by Cambridge University Press in 2024. Roots, Routers. Wow, I almost have to spell that one. It's Roots, R-O-T-T-S, Roots. R-O-U-T-E-S, and then Routers, roots with an R. Communication and Media of Contemporary Social Movements, Sage Publishing in 2018, and Online Collective Action, Dynamics of the Crowds in Social Media, back in 2014. Her talk is titled Algorithmic Heartbeats, Love and Hate in the Time of Social Media. Please join with me in welcoming Merlina Lim.
Thank you for the introduction. It's my honor to be here. I extend my gratitude to the Royal Society of Canada, Queen's Vice Principal Research Portfolio, and Professors John Burke and Amir Fan for the invitation. And of course, thank you all for being here today. So I was going to let algorithm write my talk, but I was afraid that half of you gonna hate it, half of you gonna love it, and none of you know why. So where should we start with social media algorithms? Our honeymoon phase with them is long over. Many of us probably harbor regrets about welcoming platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok into our lives. This discontent is absolutely palpable in the political spheres. Scholars and publics and pundits who once marveled at the democratic potential of the internet like 15, 20 years ago, hailing the internet as a virtual public sphere, now point fingers at social media as a breeding ground for disinformation and deepening polarization. Some even contend that digital technology has transformed from the tool of democracy to become instruments of authoritarianism. If you look up that phrase, there's so many of them thinking like that, right?
So if the Beatles write a medley about the shift, they probably begin with, all you need is likes, da 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 da, like. And probably then scroll together right now over memes. But then it ends with yesterday. All my trolls are 1,000 clicks away. Now my feed is full of hate, hate. Oh, I believe in yesterday.
So, is it accurate to say that digital media have transformed? Are social media truly to blame? And if they are bad, if social media algorithms are bad, can we make them great again? So, first, I think there's something flawed in this kind of a line of thinking. First, let me set the record straight. digital media, digital technologies, actually, even when the internet was just a static playground, remember the old days? They were never inherently democratic. I vividly remember connecting through the dial phones and modem 14.k bytes modems with that iconic sounds, right? Right? But, even then, right, the user base indeed was smaller and the content was sparser, but even then the internet was not a level playing field. Digital technologies, digital networks were not egalitarian and are not egalitarians. They resemble what Barabasi called free-scale networks, which actually follow power law distribution. This means that when new connections emerge or form, they tend to link up with the already popular nodes. So think of it as a rich get richer type of networks. So in this kind of networks, right, in the rich get richer kind of networks, it means that research actually show over time big players, big corporations, big actors, super users dominate over time. They dominate digital media even more, making it nearly impossible for smaller players to actually compete. In 2024, social media networks are more unequal than ever, even if compared to just 5 years ago. And with powerful entities, my research in Southeast Asia showed that authoritarian regimes and actors who couldn't control the internet back 22 years ago, now they can. They actually solidifying their influence precisely because they have influence to begin with, and over time they become more dominant. So second, even from the beginning, actually it's not true. It was all happy, right? I think we were just have this bias. There's scholarly bias about looking at the more democratic usage of technology. My research in Indonesia, for example, show even from the beginning, digital and social media have been harnessed by progressive and regressive politics. Civil and uncivil groups, they have seized the platform for their interests. So instead simply debating whether social media democratizes or autocratizes, I think we should really focus on the inherent nature of the platform themselves. Let's face it, let's be honest. Social media wasn't built. Platforms were not designed for political engagement. This platform, first and foremost, primarily serve platform capitalism, where what is the core of it? The core of it is data monetization and for market dominance. In other words, to be richer, to gain profit, right? So while they are not inherently anti-democratic, they operate on marketing logic rather than fostering civic engagement. So influencing political dynamic through a commercial lens. So in this regard, social media landscape reflects what I call algorithmic marketing culture. This is a kind of culture where there is interaction between algorithmic function, social media algorithmic function, and marketing strategies dictate content circulation, visibility, and popularity. At its core is about branding, where success relies heavily on emotional resonance of content with the audience. So in the past decades, social media platform has become more algorithmic, focusing on user growth and ad revenues, targeted advertising. This algorithm constantly updated, use machine learning and sorting typology. Sorting typology is very important to study user behavior and prioritize content. So, typology from 1 to the highest and the lowest method, right? So if you are like, if I want to divide you into those who like pink and blue, those who really like pink and blue matters. Those who kind of like it or not, it don't matter, right? Because it's to make advertising effective is to simplify your taste. And to simplify your taste is to really care about how to understand people who love and hate, right? And that's probably good for selling, but that is not good for democracy. So by leveraging emotional reaction like likes and shares, they promote content that boosts engagement, leading to a bias toward superlative content, emotionally charged posts. This reflects what is called economic emotion. At the same time, the past amount of contents and the sinking bite, right? We scroll very little time, just looking, 3 seconds, boring, keep on scrolling, is actually, and very limited user attention create an economic of attention where both users and content compete for visibilities. So when this framework is applied to politics, algorithmic marketing culture, along with the economic of emotion and economic of attention, each give rise to politics, effective fandom politics. The politics that employ fans tactic is not about informing you with policies, it's not about engaging with healthy democratic deliberation or civic culture, but the politics that employs fan-like tactics to shape public images and engage supporters. In this environment, emotion become the currency of political messaging. Campaigns craft narratives charged with emotion, recognizing that love and hate drive share and virality. And a vote, because it also means that you might get vote not only for people who actually like you, people who hate the other. So this emphasis on emotional appeal diverts political discussion from complex issue to oversimplified, sensationalized content dominated by clickbaits and viral memes. So on the user side, this dynamic also create what I call algorithmic enclaves. These are communities formed around shared emotion rather than interest. These enclaves can be hotbeds for disinformation, especially in environment characterized by binary politics. What I mean is when political choices are framed only based on two choices, and typically are opposing polars, such as in the US, right? Everything that Democrat dislike is what Republicans offer, or the other way around. And so recently we also witnessed the emergence of algorithmic politics, namely politics that revolve around the algorithmic manipulation of issues primarily aimed at dominating media sphere to influence public opinion. So my research on recent elections in Southeast Asia, I combine big data analysis on certain keywords and small data analysis using participant observation and interviews. I show, the research show not only the growing presence of algorithmic politics, but also its escalating impacts on electoral outcomes. There are three key trends of these algorithmic politic practices. The first one is professionalization of campaigns, where over time, which is actually pretty much like Americanization of campaigns in Southeast Asia, including in places like Cambodia, for example. That Cambodia political actor actually spend the most money behind targeted advertisement on Meta. Imagine that Cambodia is not actually a rich country, right? But the big spender is actually certain actors in Cambodia, is biggest spender among the biggest spender in Southeast Asia. Social media campaigns in this country are highly sophisticated, backed by elite individuals and substantial financial investment. Political candidates hire professional consultants who use advanced technologies and marketing strategy to amplify social division and secure power. This industry includes a wide range of services, from political consulting to data analytics, all designed to orchestrate victories through strategic planning and media management. So essentially, the wealthier entities harness social media mobilizing effects, reflecting rich get richer dynamic. The second one is the manipulation of public discourse to curated campaign networks. The campaign increasingly utilize both voluntary, so grassroots, and paid networks. It's not just bots, right? To create buzz and share messages on social media. So this approach employs cyber troops that works on daily basis, not only during election, on all kind of issues. Some of them actually have a official training, like in Vietnam or in Thailand, that is trained by the government. And bots, cyber troop, bots, cyber trolls, social media influencer, all of them actually have these components, and online celebrities. So over a decade ago, of course, this strategy was common in commercial marketing, but now has become a cornerstone of political campaigns. Interestingly though, you cannot just blame the bots. In all, literally 100% of campaigns, electoral campaigns networks in my study, the largest networks of hate and disinformation are ordinary users who participate with it. So what is interesting is when you inject, right, hate-based networks within the campaigns, it's actually contagious, that making people who are not even paid, who probably have no incentive in doing this, to participate in such network. And of course, the number three, as you could imagine, there is the use of negative and positive disinformation. I use this term disinformation to encompass not only outright falsehood, but also tactics that distort facts. So while previous campaigns in the last 10 years rely heavily on negative campaigns, just like what we see, right, in the US, for example, these days, right? It's very much based on negative campaigns attacking the others. Actually, what is interesting is in Southeast Asia, we see a rising trend of positive disinformation. And this is including one thing that I term algorithmic white branding, which is the utilization of digital tools and automated technologies, including AI, to create a positive image or brand or a political candidate or public figures who has a deeply controversial and problematic record. People were people deal, for example, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, they were fed up with bullying and hate speech and disinformation. So in the last 2 years, candidates started to use this positive, taking advantage of the toxic positivistic culture, right? Which is like, oh, you have to be positive, like motivational, right, on social media. So this strategy sanitized their history for candidates who actually have problematic past and reshape their narratives to appeal to younger voters who actually born more recently, therefore might not remember the history of the past, their past, and probably just not knowing about their problematic background. So, for example, in the Philippines in 2022, 2 years ago, the Philippine election, Bongbong Marcos, which is the sons of the dictator Marcos Sr., employ algorithmic whitewashing to reshape his family controversial history. Presenting it was a human rights violation, the killing of journalists and activists, democratic activists, and he presenting those dark history as a golden era of peace and progress. His social media presence was strategically crafted, featuring upbeat content that softened his public image. In fact, he used the word love a lot and the upbeat music that make people happy. Similarly, in Indonesia, Prabowo Subianto, which is ex-son-in-law of the dictator Suharto, the dictator for 32 years, Prabowo Subianto was involved in genocide, general who was involved in genocide in East Timor. And he was also involved in the kidnapping of activists, missing activists in 1998 when student protests managed to oust his father-in-law, Suharto. Prabowo Subianto, he didn't even have to do his historical revisionism. He rebranded himself with this cute, cuddly grandpa. And then he's doing this shuffle dance, right? And then dancing and running, little like so cute. And he has his cat also has an Instagram account and campaign with campaign material that are so playful, shared notably on Facebook, notably on TikTok. So this approach helped distance him from his violent past as a former military general, fostering a totally new persona, a more approachable. And we think that this wouldn't work, right? But it works, both of them won. Both candidates lean into campaigns of positivity. It's not about hate, which attracted love from devoted followers, much like adoration between K-pop fans and their idols. The idols cannot do anything wrong. And in fact, on YouTube, which Bongbong Marcos had these vlogs, people said they were so touched. Oh, I love this guy. He's like a father. He's like a very kind father. On TikTok, many youngsters say every time they look at him, they want to cry because he exudes this persona that is so lovable. I don't get it, right? I watch thousands of videos and just got sick of it, right? But it works. It doesn't work for me, but it works for millions who voted for him. So in a sense, algorithmic politics are reshaping the way elections and public policies are fought. employing sophisticated strategies that blend technology, marketing, and a deep understanding of public emotional landscape. Beyond electoral events, increasingly autocratizing regimes and illiberally inclined government have been leveraging algorithmic politics and the mobilization effects of social media to fortify their position while stifling dissent. So in this environment, social media platforms, the personal and the political become deeply intertwined. Social media algorithm blurs the line between our emotional lives and civic duties, transforming politics into a form of political marketing, emotional marketing, citizen into consumer and fans. Ultimately, economic of emotion and the economic of attention shape not just how we consume political content, not just how we communicate politically, but also how we feel about it, how we discuss it, and how we vote. Given this reality, social media platforms are not going away anytime soon. Algorithms continue to shape our political landscape while intensifying existing dynamic. While it may feel too late to change the status quo, but shouldn't we not demand transparency in the algorithmic processes that govern our online interaction? Might we consider advocating for algorithms that prioritize transparency and diversity of perspective? Shouldn't we call for platforms to disclose how they prioritize contents, ensuring that political advertising is clearly labeled? Can we not promote the visibility of marginalized voices in political discourse? Would implementing mechanism for user feedbacks on algorithmic contents not help align platform more closely with democratic values? In a time when algorithmic influence is pervasive, could public algorithms that emphasize civic engagement and factual information be the key to fostering informed decision-making? While most likely, we cannot pursue all the questions we say yes to, if you say yes to what I ask. I believe that collectively we need to harness our agency. By engaging with this issue, cannot we empower ourselves and work toward restoring trust in our democratic process? So if you like my talk, please share it, comment, and hit the like button. But if you hate it, then please do the same, because algorithm doesn't care